Give me all the money. Right now. Give me all the money. Right now. Give me all the money right now.
Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers. My name is Sean, and what you just saw was a little bit of surveillance video from one of a spree of robberies that was committed by a suspect who was released 14 years early on his sentence due to new laws that were instituted post the Black Lives Matter riots, and Pamela Price, the woke district attorney for Alameda County that covers Oakland, who doesn't want to prosecute anyone for anything, recommending that this innocent angel Aladdin, this beautiful individual, be released early. So we're going to talk about this, we're going to break this down, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money, okay?
And I also want to thank everyone who tweeted at Team YouTube in order to help me get my monetization back. I really appreciate you. And for those of you who donated via PayPal and Venmo, thank you so much. But I've refunded your donations because I don't want to take money from you under false pretenses. And the problem got resolved hours after posting my video. Again, thank you so much. Check for your refunds.
New charges in a frightening crime spree in Oakland. The suspect in a string of fast food robberies was recently freed from prison after his sentence was shortened.
So right off the top, I need to point out for everybody out there in the audience that these new sentencing guidelines that were instituted post George Floyd, post the Black Lives Matter riots, in the fervor of the violence that was inflicted upon our country that was supposedly for racial justice, are the key factor in this particular case. On top of that, even with these laws, you have some discretion from the district attorney's office. So Pamela Price, the George Soros funded, not prosecute anyone for anything district attorney, also played a key role in this. And the fact is, we have surveillance video. You can see these horrific crimes in real time as they occurred. You could see the violence that was involved. And I just want you to understand that the district attorney's office believed that this individual was the victim, went out of her way to recommend resentencing for him because he was just an innocent angel Aladdin who was serving 30 years to life for a serious violent crime. And honestly, should we really have held him accountable for that serious violent crime? Instead, we should let him re-victimize more people across the city of Oakland, because that is going to get revenge for slavery. It's reparations. It is social justice and not actual justice. And that was what was on display right there for you. Now we're going to hear from the actual victims of this crime. We're going to hear the weak statement from Pamela Price where she says, well, I guess I take responsibility for this a little bit, not that she gives a damn. And we're going to talk about the implications of this because many a California criminal have been released due to this law, and yes, it has an impact.
Give me all the money right now. Give it.
The workers say the robber attacked two female employees inside Casabe Taqueria. A cook, Santos Sanchez, who was cleaning in the back room, ran toward the man to push him away from the women. A struggle ensued, and the suspect punched Sanchez in the face.
Open it. Open it. Open it. Here, my baby. Oh, come on, man.
Now look, you can hear their description from the local news reporter, but because he actually is on camera punching this person in the face, I had to block out that portion of the screen because when I do get monetization restored, YouTube will age restrict this video and punish me in all kinds of other different ways for showing you footage that other people can show frequently. But it is a brutal attack. I give credit to this cook who is cleaning in the back for interceding on behalf of the two female clerks right here. But here you have an aggressively violent person who it only took 11 days for him to decide that he was going to go on a crime spree that was released again 14 years early on his sentence. Now normally you serve at least 2/3 of your sentence before you're eligible for parole. In some places you can serve half of it or whatever, but the fact of the matter is this person was supposed to be held longer. He did not qualify for any of those other exemptions. The only reason he was released was due to a recommendation from Pamela Price. Pamela Price's office supposedly looked at this individual, decided he was an innocent angel Aladdin, and released him on the streets. And this was but one of multiple crimes, multiple instances of violence that he committed not only within this day, but within the same hour.
If I touch it or if I push my cheek, yeah, it's still kind of hard.
Police say the taqueria was one of 3 restaurants the man robbed on the evening of July 5th. All of the robberies happened on San Pablo Avenue.
Now, I also want to point out that even though this is the evening of July 5th, that obviously you could see from the light coming in through the windows that it is broad daylight. So yeah, it's probably after 5 or whatever, but sunset is in and around 8 to 9 p.m. So these are broad daylight robberies, despite how they're described by this local news affiliate, that this guy committed where he assaulted multiple people and he's taking the money. The guy says that the punch in the face, it still hurts right now to this moment. But the fact of the matter is, what should be hurting the residents of Oakland is that Pamela Price repeatedly punches people in the face, repeatedly advocates for criminals like this, despite the fact that they had full knowledge that this guy was a bad person. That's why he was convicted. That's why he was sentenced to 30 years in the first place, because he was a violent, dangerous person. And he proved that out just 11 days after he got out of jail. And I just want to point out that we know about these crimes because they were caught on surveillance video. There's a chance that this guy offended over and over and over again up until these 11 days, and that's because of this resentencing doesn't even really monitor these people. You couldn't even have the decency to put him on a supervised release where he was heavily restricted, knowing that he had a 30-day sentence. Instead, you're like, you know, if 16 years to 30 years, what's the difference? Let's let him out. A 31-year-old monster has been dropped on the streets to attack people, and I'm sure everything will be fine for Oakland residents.
They say he robbed a Papa John's pizza restaurant. Employees shared the surveillance video of the suspect chasing and attacking a cashier. They say he demanded all the workers their money. When they refused to hand over their wallets, they say he went to empty out the cash register. Police say he also robbed the nearby McDonald's.
So yeah, you see him jumping the counter right there at the Papa John's, chasing the employees, demanding money, taking money from the register when they refused to turn over their wallets. He also robbed a McDonald's, but we actually have a bonus robbery in this particular case, in this particular instance, just to show you what an absolute monster this guy is, because he decided it was also appropriate to beat the crap out of 2 elderly Asian women in order to rob them.
They say he also beat up and robbed these 2 Asian women. Police say they were still trying to identify these 2 victims who did not file a police report. Police later arrested 31-year-old Clarence Asteen.
Now, I will show you this still image from that, because obviously YouTube censors are what they are, but this is just to give you an idea of how monstrous this individual is. And again, he was supposed to be in lockup for 14 years longer, but Pamela Price decided, you know what, innocent angel Aladdin, he just needed bread for a starving family, so we need to release him. Who gives a damn about these elderly Asian women? Honestly, they kind of deserve it because they're successful in the United States of America, and minorities like Black Americans are just suffering due to evil white racism. So when he punches those elderly women in the face when they're on the floor begging for mercy, that's just reparations, and you just got to deal with it because we need racial justice. And aren't we so proud of what we did in response to George Floyd?
In all, they say he robbed 2 women, 3 restaurants, and beat up a handful of people.
It's very bad and scary at the same time.
Now again, I highly recommend you go to the link in the description and you watch this local news segment for yourself, because what you see is that this guy starts out with force. He grabs the older looking of the elderly Asian woman. Also, by the way, very sad that they didn't report this crime, which by the way means it doesn't really get incorporated in the crime statistics, and immediately throws a haymaker at this woman's face. And when the other woman is shocked, he begins attacking her. So while they're on the ground, he is yanking stuff away from them, robbing them. And because crime against elderly Asians from Black people is so common in the Bay Area, they decided not to report it. They decided it wasn't even worth talking about. It's average, it's normal, it's acceptable, and also they know for a fact that the district attorney looks at this instance and tries to figure out a way that the guy who punched this elderly woman in the face is the victim, and how these guys kind of deserved it, these elderly women. So this guy assaults over 5 people in this particular instance. He robs 3 places and then 2 individuals. Again, there are probably more robberies not caught on surveillance video, more instances of violence, and all this was done because the district attorney believed that this guy was deserving of mercy.
District Attorney Pamela Price says Asteen was released from prison 11 days before the robbery spree. Asteen was serving 30 years to life for a robbery in which he shot and injured an elderly woman in 2009.
Now look, I understand that some people genuinely want criminal justice reform, and when they think of criminal justice reform, they think of young men, possibly men of color, possibly black men, who just got thrown into prison for decades because they had small amounts of marijuana. And however ridiculous a scenario that actually is, when you think about it in terms of the statistics of who's actually incarcerated, this is what people actually believed and what they advocated for and what they thought they were voting for in many circumstances. Now, of course, there are radicals who say they're in favor of abolishing the police and abolishing prisons and letting the criminals run roughshod over society that actually got exactly what they voted for in this instance. But usually what people expect is not for those who actually were committing robberies and shot elderly people during the course of those robberies and got a deserved sentence of 30 years to life for said robbery and attempted murder to be released early. They're not expecting people with clear and obvious indications that they participate in this behavior to be dumped onto the streets as if nobody could have foreseen this. Again, this guy robbed 3 places, robbed 2 individuals, elderly Asian women in this particular instance, and he was released early for what crimes? Robbing and attacking elderly people. He did the exact same thing before that he is doing now. He just did it on a spree level now, and I guarantee you, back in the past when he was originally arrested, that was not the first time. You don't initiate a robbery against an elderly person and then try to kill that elderly person on your first go around. This is who this man is. This is who he has been known to be for a very long time in the state of California, yet they released him and decided that it was an acceptable consequence for him to prey on the innocent residents of the city of Oakland. They decided that this was appropriate. Now, again, I know a lot of people are going to say they voted for this, Oakland is woke, Oakland is liberal, all of that, but the fact of the matter is, there is a reason why they decided that they're going to push for a recall campaign against Pamela Price, because a lot of people did not actually want this. A lot of people did not actually support this. They ended up getting this, and now that they've been punched in the face, both metaphorically and literally in these particular instances, these are the people primed to vote for change, to vote out Pamela Price, because she is not fit for this office. She needs to be removed immediately.
Price says since Esteen was 16 years old at the time, he was eligible for a new sentence under a new law. Her office recommended a shorter sentence. A judge signed off, and Esteen was released on June 24th.
You know, I don't often give a lot of credit to the editing for local news media. Of course, I had to freeze frame because of the reasons that I described before, but credit where credit is due while they're talking about this new law that protects him and makes him eligible for a new sentence for cutting in the footage of him beating the crap out of 2 elderly Asian women as they talk about this glorious reform. Now, of course, they cut to Pamela Price, who normally ghosts the media in these particular instances, and she gives a lukewarm statement about how, oh, we all as a society bear the responsibility of this. Isn't it sad that society committed these crimes?
We all bear a responsibility for that. And certainly my office will continue to redouble our efforts to provide effective reentry services.
I genuinely despise politicians like Pamela Price. She's like, we all bear responsibility. We all participated in this, and my office will redouble its efforts to not re-examine who we're letting out early, to not hold criminals accountable who are clearly and obviously dangerous, but to provide more reentry services to criminals like this, because you know what the issue was right here? This guy didn't have enough welfare. This guy didn't have enough talks with counselors who told him it's very, very not nice to punch elderly Asian women in the face, rob stores, and go on a crime spree 11 days after, you get released early for a serious crime that you never should have been released early for. So her statement doesn't actually accept blame despite how it's being reported by multiple outlets. It blames everyone in society except for, of course, the criminal, except for, of course, her office, except for, of course, her judge, the only people that are responsible for this person committing these crimes being out on the streets. And we're all supposed to pretend like this is acceptable. We're all supposed to pretend like, oh, if only this guy had midnight basketball after he was released as a re-entry program, he would have been A-OK first class all the way and everything would have been hunky-dory. No, it's not good. It's not nice. It's not a good thing to have. It's the policy. It's the decisions that you made that led to this. So you should take some damn accountability for your own actions.
The owner of the taqueria is outraged by the shorter prison time. He says aside from the robbery, they also had 6 break-ins in the last 2 months. He says there's no accountability.
I mean, again, just imagine operating a business in the city of Oakland. This guy is in this local news segment for this insane robbery with this insane situation where a guy was released early, and he says, yeah, aside from this, we've also had 6 different break-ins in recent history in the city of Oakland because there's no accountability for any criminals at all. This is what these left-wingers do. They allow time and time again for businesses to be victimized, and then they tell you stupid responses like, oh, well, we gotta arrest Poverty. We gotta figure out what Poverty was wearing. Did you guys happen to see Poverty and what kind of skirt she was wearing in this particular video so we could find out where she is, or any of these videos so we could arrest her? Because that's the root cause, that's the real issue, when in reality the issue is you're not prosecuting criminals, you're not holding them accountable. You release them over and over and over again, and you say, oh, they're rehabilitated, and then they commit crimes, and then you blame society. The issue is the philosophy of these left-wing district attorneys, of these left-wing politicians, and the fact that there's no accountability. So you have a guy who's victimized by this insane crime. It's caught on surveillance video. It's somebody who's released early, and he's like, yeah, well, you know, it's only the 7th time that something like this has happened to us in recent history, and honestly, I'm starting to get sick of it.
That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad because I know for sure that they're going to keep doing it, and they should stay in jail.
Again, it is so sad to watch this defeated mindset, but the fact of the matter is, it is completely and totally earned. He says, look, it's horrible, it's horrendous, but you know what? I know they're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep getting victimized until we eventually close, and then these same politicians are going to complain about food deserts and how all the businesses don't want to operate here, and maybe, just maybe, the real culprit is evil white racism.
The cook, Sanchez, hopes the suspect will be put away for a long time.
Kind of frustrating, because you can do anything. The laws right now, they protect like the criminals.
Look, everyone knows that it's the laws in California, it's the laws in Oakland that are the problem. They are what is at issue here. And one of the things that I find absurd about this is the fact that Pamela Price charged this, the initial charges, and what the potential sentence is for those initial charges, and how absurd it is that we have to go through a whole different judicial process just to keep him in prison for about the same amount of time that he was supposed to be in, again, as a maximum sentence.
Pamela Price's office charged Esteen with 5 counts of second-degree robbery. If convicted, he faces up to 15 years in prison.
So yeah, if they convict this guy of the crimes, then he could be potentially sent back to prison to finish out what was his previous prison term. But of course, the charges will be downgraded when nobody's looking. Pamela Price will be like, oh, what an innocent baby angel who just needed to punch those Asians in the face. And this guy will likely get months in jail, and he will be released because it's overcrowded, and he will be on the streets to reoffend again. Believe me, you will see this criminal again on your local news very quickly if you're living in the Bay Area. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Should this guy get 57 more chances? Or do you think that the violent crime spree that he went on when given a second chance is enough? We can lock this guy up. We can understand that he's not going to be rehabilitated. He's not an innocent angel, and he is in fact deserving of a harsh sentence. Let me know down in the comments below. And as usual, if you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the nonsense that goes on in Oakland. Till next time.